Alright guys, so if you're anything like me, you were probably a huge fan of Star Wars when you were a younger kid, at least I was. And I'm still a pretty big Star Wars fan. One thing that's always disappointed me though is Star Wars video games have not always been the best. Especially in the last couple years, the Battlefronts that EA tried to make. Kinda Star Wars video games have been in a rough spot. Apparently EA is working on some new ones, so I figured we could talk about it, so let's get into it.
I'm getting quiet now, laying low when you reach zone, piping down, making out, stack the bread.
Alright, so EA is the company that has the rights to Star Wars games currently. I know EA tends to not be a very popular game company. That being said, they are the people in charge of making Star Wars, but it looks like they're putting one of the better developers that they have in-house on it from now on, considering how bad they've kind of been fumbling the bag. Maybe I don't understand the gaming industry, but in my mind, having the rights to Star Wars video games basically should be a money printer. Like, this should be one of those franchises that's pretty easy to make a game that makes a crap ton of money in. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but whatever. 3 new Star Wars video games are in development at EA and Respawn. EA's exclusivity deal with Lucasfilm is ending, but EA is making new games. Alright, that's actually really good news that their exclusivity deal with Lucasfilm is ending. That being said, I'm not surprised they're still going to be releasing those games, simply because there is such a big market for a good Star Wars game. To this day, every now and then, I'll bust out my Xbox 360, set it up, and play Star Wars Battlefront 2, the really old one. Because it's just a really fun game, I understand I might be alone in that, but that being said, I think making a Star Wars game that is good would lead to a bunch of money, especially because now, video games aren't just the money you make from selling the game when it's popular, it's the microtransactions along the way, the weapon skins, all that junk. So, if anything, a game as good as Battlefront 2 is, or an equivalent, in terms of being innovative and new now, would definitely be a money printer. And Respawn, they're probably the best people at EA to be working on it, because I'm pretty sure they're the people in charge of Apex. EA and Lucasfilm have jointly announced that 3 new Star Wars games are in development at Respawn, the studio that develops Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Among those 3 planned is a sequel to Fallen Order, which was single-player, a Souls-like melee combat and action exploration game, and the other 2 include a first-person shooter and strategy game, but EA's press release did not provide details about those titles beyond their respective genres. Alright, I will say, a lot of this video is going to contain bias, but that being said, I'm a huge first-person shooter fan. Like, Call of Duty, CSGO, and Valorant are probably my 3 most played games of all time. And then Halo would probably be up there as well, so the idea of a good Star Wars first-person shooter to me sounds absolutely lit. Fallen Order was okay, better than Battlefront, that's for sure, but, anything would be better than that train wreck. That being said, the one thing that I feel like, they might mess up on is I feel like sometimes game studios now focus a little bit too much on having a good way to monetize the content, right? Like, alright guys, what are we gonna do for Battle Pass Season 4? And listen, I understand it's probably nice to think ahead, but that being said, there also is something to be said for making the game super enjoyable, so that way you have a bunch of people playing it when Battle Pass 4 comes out. Like, yeah, Fortnite was obviously very smart about monetizing stuff with the Battle Pass and the skins. But more than anything, that was just kind of already their monetization system, and then the game got really popular because it was unique and something people hadn't really played before in terms of a battle royale where you can build stuff in a cartoony style. So my one hope is they focus on trying to make, like, an addicting Star Wars first-person shooter, and then, an advantage of that is monetization. That being said, EA, no offense, but they tend to do the opposite. How do we get as much money out of these idiots playing this game as possible? And, I don't think people playing the game are idiots, I'm just pretending to be EA's board. Remember when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, the recent one, and everybody did the math that you needed to spend like 10 grand to unlock everything or something like that? Hopefully they've learned their lesson with the backlash that they've gotten from the last few Star Wars games, but certain companies just kind of look like they never learn their lesson. The first-person shooter will be led by a former producer for the Star Wars Battlefront franchise of the online shooter set in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, but which one? The old one or the new one? The strategy game will be produced by Respawn, but its lead developer will be BitReactor. BitReactor is a new studio formed in part by developers who previously worked on the recent entries in the XCOM franchise. Alright, so XCOM overall is basically like one of the gold standards of the strategy games, I would say. I'm not a huge strategy game fan, but if a lot of the people working on this new Star Wars game have experience from a franchise like that, I think that's a step in the right direction. Maybe EA's finally learning their lesson here by just picking people that are good at a genre, letting them have the Star Wars IP and telling them to make whatever they want. Like I said, sometimes I feel like games are so worried about like, alright, we need to use the Star Wars IP a specific way, you know, this is what we want Call of Duty with Star Wars weapons. Instead of just kind of letting the game developers and people that make good games kind of make a game that happens to have all the Star Wars IP, I feel like that's probably the best way to go about getting a mega hit. Think about it. If these people at XCOM come up with like a new type of strategy game with all the experience they have and a benefit of it is it's the Star Wars universe, then you're getting a bunch of Star Wars fans, but you're also allowing people that aren't Star Wars fans to get into it. Sometimes games that are linked to a movie franchise or something like this are like only enjoyable to people that are super big Star Wars fans. So if you're gonna do a Star Wars first-person shooter, just focus on making it a great first-person shooter that happens to be Star Wars to actually get the results I think you're wanting, you know. I think EA and a lot of people just expect because they slap Star Wars on it that it's going to become the mega hit of the century. And sure, it'll sell a lot of copies, but if you want it to get to the size where it's like a massive success Minecraft Fortnite level, it's gotta be gameplay focused first. Maybe I'm stupid for that. Respawn is currently best known as the developer of the popular online battle royale Apex, but the studio's pedigree runs deeper. It's led by many of the same people who made the wildly popular Call of Duty Modern Warfare back in '07. That game established the formula for the next decade of online shooters until it was upended by the popularization of the battle royale subgenre. Credit for the battle royale's triumph goes in large part to Epic Games' massively successful Fortnite, although Fortnite didn't create the genre itself. Respawn also made both Titanfall games, which were story-driven shooters set in the same universe as the more recent Apex Legends, and very recently, Respawn co-founder was put in charge of EA's Battlefield franchise of the online military shooter after Battlefield 2042's mixed critical and player reception last year. The announcement from EA and Lucasfilm did not include any details about the characters, stories, or settings in the new Star Wars games. Alright, I think Respawn overall is a very great developer, dude. Titanfall, definitely up there as one of the more underrated franchises, in my opinion. You know, a lot of my really old videos have Titanfall gameplay. That game was fun. So I think if anyone's up to the task to take all the Star Wars IP and do something unique and different with it that can be, you know, entertaining to a bunch of different people and also fun for Star Wars fans, I think Respawn's gonna do it. Obviously, you know, I'm not the biggest EA fan of all time either. I don't hate them as much as some people do, but I am a little bit nervous about the fact they're handling it. That being said, if there was a subgroup of EA that I could have handling these Star Wars games that I thought would have the best chance at making something super fun, it would be Respawn Entertainment. You know, Apex Legends, pretty solid. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which a lot of them worked on, pretty solid. Titanfall, solid. At this point, I will take just a solid Star Wars game because so many of them recently have been such absolute garbage, bro. Like, I'm sorry, you know, EA has just absolutely fumbled Star Wars in video games. It's like they got this, they were like, oh, we're gonna make so much money, and then they just did, like, dude, they just hired their, like, nephew to make a game. He never programmed a game before. They're like, no, dude, you got this, and then they're like, why is it not printing money? Why is it not making as much money as we thought? At least now they're putting their all-stars on it, at least as far to the all-star as you think they could be. EA has had exclusive rights to publish games set in the Star Wars universe since 2013. However, that deal ends soon, and non-EA Star Wars games are already in development, including an open-world game published by Ubisoft and developed by Massive Entertainment, and a narrative adventure game by Quantic Dream. In other words, players who want to play big-budget Star Wars games are going to have more options in the next few years than they've had since the 2000s. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of exclusive game deals, only because of situations like this, where, you know, EA signed this agreement in 2013 that they were the only people who can make Star Wars games, basically released nothing but flaming bags of crap. All right, I'm sure there was some redeeming qualities. Maybe that's harsh, but you guys get the point. They didn't do too hot. And now, all of a sudden, that's ending and a bunch of studios are working on games. They're like, we've got our best studio on it. We're developing multiple titles. We're doing our best out here. Where was all this, when you guys were just kind of in a situation where you should have been trying this hard in the first place? To me, it's a little bit of a too little too late. I know most people don't care that much. They're still going to go out and buy Star Wars games from whoever. But yeah, it does bug me a little bit that now they're going to try really hard on Star Wars. Obviously, from a business perspective, as soon as there's no risk that you're going to have to share any of that property, the incentive to try as hard does go down. I think competition overall tends to be good for the consumer. If game studios have to be competing to release better and better games, I think that's good for the gamer. And I do think if people have to compete to be the best Star Wars producer out there, have the best reputation, that's good because then studios take it a little bit more seriously. I mean, let's be realistic here. Look at what happens when huge game studios have no competition. You have Madden, which, is basically the same game every year because there's not really much anyone can do about it. FIFA, which also kind of the same game every year because there's not too much anyone can do about it. Do you think those games would really release every year in the exact same repackage if there was a huge competition in another type of FIFA game that actually had, some money behind it? Probably not, but exclusivity deal is going to do exclusivity deals. I don't know. I think overall, if you think you make the best Star Wars game, go for it. But having the exclusive rights to something, while obviously makes business sense for the person selling the rights, in my experience, especially in video games, just leads to a subpar product. Open world Star Wars, though, that definitely sounds interesting, at least to me, dude. Forget it. If Grand Theft Auto 6 is never gonna come out, that's fine. Just give me a game where it's open world and I can be Han Solo, roll around stealing drugs from Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars world, dude. That's exactly what I want. And open world means someone else can be a Jedi. Imagine GTA Online, but an open world version of Star Wars. Oh, yes, that sounds lit. See, competition already. No wonder EA was like, oh, crap, we actually got to do something with this. Get the guys from XCOM on it, If you bring in the people that are great at the strategic games, is that bringing your strategic team in, All right, you guys are great at making strategy games, so now get on out there and bring back the Star Wars franchise because we messed up and might have accidentally cut off our main money printer here. Just kidding, EA prints money from a bunch of stuff, but you guys get the idea. In my mind, dude, this would be the equivalent of somebody buying just an insanely profitable franchise, bro. Imagine somebody wants to talk about how they're such a big businessman, and then they buy a McDonald's. So basically, all you gotta do is listen to McDonald's advice on how to run it, and you'll be okay. And then somehow they manage to go bankrupt running a McDonald's. It's dude, you really had the easiest job in the world. And that's how I feel EA has handled the entire Star Wars situation. Oh, they're giving us a franchise that literally millions of people love and grew up with, and people have been wanting a good video game forever because none of them have come out. Yeah, okay. Let's just not take it too seriously. That should have been a money printer, dude. If you line out what they got, exclusive rights to Star Wars games for 10 years, and look at all the games they released and how popular they were, dude. It's come on, guys, come on. This should have been easy. EA should be sitting here honestly, we have so much money from these Star Wars games, we're not sure what to do with. We went out and bought every worker a gold-plated Lamborghini. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you're going to be getting any of these new Star Wars games, let me know. If you're happy that there's some competition and EA is going to actually have to try to improve some stuff, let me know as well. If you feel like I'm overreacting and all these games are going to flop, whatever it is, your opinion, type it down there in the comment section. While you're at it, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Beyond that, though, if you really want to help me out, I'll go ahead and put a link to the intro song in the description down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast. And from now until the 31st, if you use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout, you'll actually get 30% off. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, 30% off with code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. And they're having another sale on some starter packs and stuff that you could use the code with too. So feel free to go check that out. I would appreciate it. Last link down there is going to be a link to the merch store. But on that note, I'm going to go cross my fingers and hope that there's actually a good Star Wars game for once. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.